Hello, Stella.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Divine Mess, the 8th episode. We're already 2 episodes away from the double digit. We are looking forward to that one. And today, if you're listening for the first time, I'm Kirti Deva Perman, also known as Deva. I'm a holistic life coach, which work with mainly on the mental health and to elevate your divine masculine side. And I'm the founder and CEO of the Heroes Mystic Life Coaching. And I have the lovely co-host Tina Ryan, she will introduce herself in a bit because she just woke up and it's quite early at her time. So thank you for joining me and joining Tina as well. And I'm really appreciative that the comments are starting to build up and starting to come in. And we are still looking forward to listen to any feedback that you have. And today it's the second part of our F series. And it's the favorite word of Tina, the F bomb, but in a different way.
Yes.
So today we are going to talk about forgiveness. And
Oh,
before that, I will let Tina introduce herself and then we'll shoot off.
wow. Good morning, my friend. It is a pleasure to join you so early on a Tuesday morning. Hello, everybody. I'm Tina Marie. I am the owner of Dharmas & Co. We are a life coaching business also, but we lead women back to love. So we teach them about owning their divine feminine essence and what that means and moving away from the hustle and the grind and the push culture that we've all been shoved into, and how to move through your life with ease and flow and grace, which for some of us, most of us, can feel very disjointed and uncomfortable until we get the hang of it. So yes, talking about forgiveness today. So that's a hard one, I think, for a lot of people. It's a hard. I was listening to Dolores Cannon yesterday, talking about letting stuff go, and you're thinking about all the things that have happened in your, over the period of your lifetime, and the people who have been sent here to teach you a lesson in one form or another. And how do you go about forgiving some of the really ugly shit that's happened in your life? And I was speaking with some of the authors that I co-wrote my book with last year. And I said to them, but you do understand that we've signed contracts before we've come to the earth to learn certain lessons in this lifetime. My top 3 being patience and trust and surrender. And Dave will laugh at the last one because I'm getting better, but I'm still working on the last one. That I had to understand that the lessons in my life were teaching me about patience. The people who had come into my life who, let's say, weren't particularly nice. And you can read a little bit about that in the book, The Awakened Feminine, that I had to have patience with myself to know that there was a level of unveiling that had to come from those lessons, and that I had to trust it was happening for a reason, that it wasn't, it wasn't this, oh, woe is me, why is it happening to me? And yes, it's all dreadful and awful and the stuff that happens to you, but on a scale with others, you can never compare yourself to other people, but at the same time, you have to look at it from a perspective, well, it could have been worse. But what, we all have to take away, what did it teach you about yourself and your capacity and your ability to learn something from it? But the men that came into my life to teach me certain lessons about my strength and my power and my ability to overcome, I've had to forgive them, because they're just souls here going through their own human experience. They're just doing it not in a way that most people would find socially acceptable. But you have to let the weight of that go. And it's not easy to let go. And I'm not sitting here and saying that you can sing the Frozen song and, you know, your life is rosy and beautiful. And David's laughing because he sends it to me in 47 different languages, and plays it to me on a regular basis. But there has to be a way that you can release the ties, release the karmic bonds Dolores Cannon talks about all the time, because otherwise that weight drags with you. You know, be like trying to drag 50 suitcases full of bricks behind you for the rest of your entire life that you're here on the planet. You have to find some way of cutting the ties that come with all of that sort of stuff, whether it's work with a therapist, whether it's journaling, whether it's meditation, whether it's, you know, speaking to a life coach, whether it's, you know, speaking to a GP, finding a support group for whatever traumatic experience that you've gone through. However you choose to move through it, you have to find a way to let that shit go, because it's there to teach a lesson. It doesn't serve you to drag it continuously with you through your entire life. But that's just my thought and feeling on it. I mean, everybody can have a very different perspective when it comes to forgiveness, but I think it's an essential part of the human existence.
And it's something that we constantly learn, like every day, I would say. And that's something I would like to go back onto, is like soul contract. Maybe people are hearing that for the first time, or they never know what it is. So I usually say that, like, I was reading Wayne Dyer's book, Living an Inspired Life, and he wrote about the conversation he had with God, as he called it, or spirit, whatever you can call it, is like before coming onto earth. And it's like that conversation he had with God was like, so what do you want to teach, like coming on earth? And like Wayne Dyer in his soul version will say like, oh, I want to teach, for example, compassion and all of that. And it's something you can read about. And I feel that conversation really show how we sign our contract with, like, that soul contract. And you can imagine like Dolores Cannon, who speak about like to let go. She has her technique of letting go, and I would suggest like people just look for her and her video about releasing karma, or
She's an amazing
releasing.
woman and doesn't look anything like you would expect as
No.
you know, a spiritual guru to look like. She looks like everybody's nana, you know, like, but the wisdom that she has.
It's like the person you will go on a Sunday and have pie, I don't know, like have tea or something, right?
Yes, tea and scones, and to sit down and you
just have
know,
it.
Nana, share your wisdom with me.
Yeah.
You know, but this is just next level.
Yeah. And it's amazing how she shared about that. And the soul contract is, just imagine you having conversation with the spirit and asking, what I am going to learn this in this life. And that's how me and Tina, we come from that school of thought that we believe in, that there's that soul contract, because based on our life experience, we can safely say that sometimes we question ourselves a lot. Did we sign the right contract? And that's what Tina is talking about. Like, she had 3 things based on her soul contract that she's learning. And for me, I would like for me, I reflected on that, and I think it's more about self-love and forgiveness And our favorite is surrender. Like surrender and trust the process.
Just trust the process. It doesn't make any sense, and you don't need to know the how, right?
Yeah. And that's
But
the hardest. Yeah, that's the challenge about it. And forgiving as well, it come in different form for people, I feel. There are so
yeah,
many techniques of how you can forgive. But until you don't face, like last week, we speak about the fears, until you don't face them and accept them, there's no point of you like, oh, I'm going to accept and forgive that. You can't do that. You can't do that step. It's like rushing through that process.
yeah. Well, like you're so excited to get to the final destination of feeling, as we'll be talking about in a couple of weeks' time, feeling free,
Yeah.
feeling released from all of the stuff that all the weights that you've been carrying. But like you say, you have to face the fear that's been brought up in you via that trauma, whether it be the fear of connecting with someone else or being intimate with someone or falling in love or having divine friendships, all of those sorts of things where, your ability to trust people, all of the stuff that can come up. You have to understand your fear as to why you can't.
Yep.
Why you choose not to, because can't's not a really good word. It's where's that block that's preventing you from entering into healthy romantic relationships or healthy friendships or writing the book or starting the podcast or working out at the gym or eating right or whatever your thing happens to be. You need to understand the fear of what's the preventative, like in terms of you stepping in to your next level self before you can turn to that person that was the instigator of teaching you that lesson.
Yep.
In saying that I release you, I forgive you. Like Dolores says, you see that soul contract in your mind and you're literally tearing the pieces of paper up and if you want, bury it in the garden, flush it down the toilet, give it away to Mother Earth to just take it away from you. It's your choice as to how you choose to do that. But it takes a lot of work to see that the person who has instigated the challenge or the trauma or whatever it happens to be, that they're a person dealing with their own trauma and their behavior is an outward reflection of something that they've gone through or that they've experienced, and it's their way of dealing with their own pain and hurt and anguish, and it's very hard when you're in a situation like when you're in a relationship or in my case in a marriage that was endeavoring to sort of understand behaviors and things that made no sense and didn't seem to come from anywhere, just automatically like rose to the surface like a volcano exploding, because I hadn't started to do the work, right? So I couldn't see it for, right in the very beginning when I was very first married. I couldn't see it because I hadn't started to do the work myself. I was only seeing surface level behavior. I was only seeing someone coming home and, raring about things not being done or bills not being paid or, whatever it happened to be, and same for my kids. You can't look at a surface level behavior, or a child telling their teacher to F off, and not faith, fear, or forgiveness, or any one of those, when that's not the standard behavior that your child exhibits, or that's not the standard behavior that your partner exhibits or your friend exhibits, that there's something else going on. But once you begin to understand that you're endeavoring to deal with the 5-year-old human inside the 50-year-old or the 70-year-old body of a parent, then you can kind of go, oh, okay. You don't have to be such a harsh judge of character, I think. But at the same time, we still have to maintain our really good boundaries. We still can't allow people to treat us poorly or to speak to us poorly. We have to call people on their behavior when they're acting like numpties, and that they could behave somewhat better. But unless someone's putting that hard line in, the behavior is going to get worse and it's going to escalate, because they've got in their own mind, they've got no other way of feeling better other than to yell and scream and shout at somebody, or physically injure somebody else, or do something to upset somebody else's life, because they're needing a constant state of drama. But it does feel good. Speaking from experience, it does feel good to release that weight, to be out of that dramatic cycle. You feel like you're in a tumble dryer all the time, and it's very good when you finally for yourself press the stop button and you can step away, or you can get off the merry-go-round and you're not dizzy anymore. You can finally just let it go and go, oh, I feel bad for you, I feel sad for you, like you have empathy and compassion and a desire, as much as that person has hurt you, you have a desire for them to release the weight themselves, to see their potential as a human being can be so much more if they'd let go of their own crap. But that's
if they are willing to let go, though.
Oh God, absolutely. You cannot.
That's the thing, right?
That's the thing I have learned massively. Is that unless they're willing to let go of their own, or start their own personal development journey, or to recognize that there's more to it, that there's more to life than the family drama, or the constantly dating the girl that always breaks your heart, or the guy that always lets you down, or the parents that constantly say that you're not good enough, or they're all here to teach you a lesson about the power of your own potential. But only you can step out and away from that.
And I think like we are here to remember, we are here to remind ourselves our own power, and we tend to forget when you I like when you say our human form. You always use that term, like whenever we have a discussion of what's going on in our personal life, you will always say, so my human is saying that. And I like that. Like it's like how you differentiate yourself, and like your spirit knows this is only your human form having maybe that 5-year-old or 10-year-old tantrum acting out, and that's when when someone is doing the work or has done the work, when they have this awareness, when you can actually pull yourself out of the situation, how difficult, how challenging, how messy it is. and you
Yeah.
can look it from that perspective and say, okay, this is my human form acting out, like or throwing a tantrum or not
Yeah.
getting what they need at that moment, which
Yeah.
we all know it's that love, right?
Oh,
We all,
it all comes back. It all
yeah,
comes back to that all the time, that
yeah.
they're not feeling safe. They're not feeling secure. They're not feeling
Mm.
loved enough. And you go, oh man, I'd have had that knowledge in my 20s. Jesus Christ, how powerful would I have been?
Yeah, but I remember that there was a guy like doing interviews on the street, and he interviewed this one guy, and he asked that famous question like, what would you tell your 10-year-old? And he said nothing. I would tell him like, go through what you have gone, because or else I would not have become who I am right now. And I
Correct.
found that really brilliant. And that's what we tend to regret when we were talking about that earlier about regrets before we recorded, like how some people live into the regrets into the past.
Yeah.
And I would like to come back to that point of love, because I recently read somewhere where forgiveness is the greatest act of self-love. And that really blew off my mind. Like I was like, and I at that time, at that moment, I couldn't get it, and because you say, okay, when you're in a difficult situation, how can you forgive the other? And most
Yeah.
importantly, how can you forgive yourself? Because sometimes we tend to go into that blaming. How did I allow that to happen?
Yeah. 1000%.
Right. Right. And I
Mm.
and I feel it's important to start forgiveness with yourself. And that's the most not most challenging, but it will be beneficial in the long run, I would say.
Yeah. But like if you're going through the steps of forgiving yourself, what does that look like for you?
For me, it would be like um accepting the situation first of all. I think like accepting what's going on, because I from the books I read, from my personal experience, is like until you don't accept what's going on, you can't move on and you can't forgive and you can't even focus on the love part. So it's accepting however difficult or challenging it is at the moment for you, or maybe it's all good as well. Just accept
Mm-hmm.
that as well, and
Yeah.
that's okay. And then I use a technique I learned from Dr. Joe Vitale, where
Mm-hmm.
he brought the Hawaiian prayer, the Ho'oponopono prayer.
I'm glad
And
you can say it because I can't.
yeah, it's quite challenging to pronounce, but
Yes.
when you come from an island, you should be able to. Just kidding. But uh, he talked about that prayer where there are 4 simple sentences and phrases which are really powerful,
Yes.
and it's all based coming from love. And I think like just saying like, I'm sorry, please forgive me. When you just start with that one, those one, that's
Mm-hmm.
enough for a start. He always say like, you can say like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. So to any situation, you can say that, but I say look in the mirror and tell that to yourself. Like it doesn't matter what's happening in your life. Just start by saying that. Right
Yeah.
now, if you want to pause the
The
podcast,
recording. Yeah.
go to the mirror and just tell those 4 phrases. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love
Thank you.
you,
And thank you.
thank you. Say
Yeah.
it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And let us know in the comments, how does it feel for you? What just saying that? And I know Tina is doing it mentally. I can see that.
Yeah. But it was funny because during my divorce proceedings, I used that.
Oh, that's something I didn't know.
Yeah. We went through a mediation,
Yes.
and I used that.
Mm.
Um, I had to say the I love you part to myself,
Yes.
because the potential for it to be misinterpreted was huge. But there was that whole like speech that I had written out that I read to him.
Oh, wow.
Was that tearing things, don't get me wrong, tearing the contract up,
a soul
but
contract to be precise. Yeah.
Well, yeah, for me it was like an end of a book.
Yep.
You know, that you needed a really good last chapter to tie things, because there's nothing worse when a story's not tied off nicely, right? When you're reading the end of a chapter or you watch an end of a movie and you go, oh, it feels incomplete, right? So there has to be, if you feel that you are coming to an end of a contract with somebody, or in terms of an end of a relationship, an end of a career, losing somebody, because Dolores said that even if a person has passed on, someone that has inflicted some sort of trauma or upset or something within your life, you can still remove your karmic bond with that person by doing the whole tearing up of the soul contract and letting it go. They don't have to be on the physical plane to release them. She said, because otherwise what happens is, if we don't release these bonds that we have within this lifetime, that the next time we come back in a different human suit with the same soul, that the challenge is escalated, that the problem is amplified, that, if you thought you went through a hard life as a child, or if you were abused in any way, shape or form, that abuse will be 10 times, or you've gone through a really bad relationship or a bad marriage and you thought it was bad. That's nothing compared to what you'll get the next time. That you will be different people, same souls, different suits, essentially, but you will get the same lesson, unless you've chosen to release that person from your path. Like if you're walking along the path and these people, it's almost like electrical cords get connected into you as you're walking along the path. If you don't take the time to stop, turn the power off and chuck the cords out the side,
cut the cord,
chuck the cords out, then those cords are still attached to you. Those people are still attached to you, even if you might not see them, speak to them, have any association with them. They're still energetically plugged into you, and you still carry them along the journey with you. So if Dava and I were talking before the podcast got recorded about cleaning up the people within our social media feed, and looking at, do those people impact and influence my life now? Will they impact and influence my life moving forward? And if the answer is no, unplug the cord, kid, turn the power off and disconnect. If those people feel that they really want to be connected with you and are wanting to have some impact in your life, then they're going to try and reconnect. But if they're only vicariously looking through the window of your life and making comment, passing judgment, whatever it happens to be, you might as well be standing naked with the shades open in your own house, because that's the access that you're giving people to your life. So you need to let things go, let people go, but do it in a way that keeps your karma clean.
Yeah. And it's not only you as well. Like you can think of your family, like lineage, like your ancestral lineage as well, that you can cleanse as well, can forgive. It's not because sometimes we think like it's whatever happened to us in childhood is like only related to our parents, but it can be related past beyond that, like maybe our grandparents or great grandparents, in terms when you start learning about what they did or how it happened, how your parents got brought up as well, that will give you more insight and more things to let go of and to forgive as well. And that's what you need to remind yourself. And forgiveness is a daily practice, I would say, just like self-love as well, because since it's a act of self-love, so why not try this exercise on a daily basis to yourself and take some time. And there are YouTube videos about these where there is like 15 minutes for 108 times they can repeat that those four phrases, and it's done in 15 minutes. So you can just listen to that.
It's
And
interesting the impact it has.
yes,
And particularly when you're forgiving yourself for things that you've done during the day where you go, could have done that better, or
yeah,
could have been nicer to that person, or maybe I didn't need to give as much of myself in that situation, or maybe my boundaries were a bit wobbly, or whatever you want to blow your brain out about, for stuff that you think you could have done better on any given day. We forgive ourselves for the fact that we are operating every single day with a certain level of knowledge. We don't have all the answers, and we don't have to be brilliant every single day. Some days it's okay to be less than it is to be a little bit more. But it's so essential to go, it's okay. It's okay just to not have all the answers and not to know it. And to go, you're still okay. You're still functioning.
And I think also, like, when you're saying to yourself it's okay, you're opening that door within yourself to the light within you. Because even when you're saying I forgive you to you, you're allowing your true self coming out, because at the core we are just divine light, pure love, and full of forgiveness and compassion. Like you said, like when you have those moments of true compassion without any expectation of the other person doing the same, which we all secretly do subconsciously.
We do have a level of expectation, right? But I
We
think
do.
if you go in with the idea that anything is possible, there are an unlimited amount of potential outcomes for every single interaction that we have within our day. The minute you put your feet on the floor, there's 1,000 different 10 million different outcomes that can happen in your day. But give yourself the space to do it with love. I think if we don't wake up and we don't go, oh, kind of look okay today, and I don't mind what I see. I don't mind the reflection that comes back to me. But if you're going to be critical and harsh, maybe just be soft and be a little bit compassionate to yourself. And to the people around you, because you've got no idea what goes on in someone else's head, in someone else's home. And if you don't know, you don't know, right? So you have to act as though everybody is coming with their highest intention, even if they don't.
And that's when, when you're compassionate and letting go, and you're actually in that state where you can, whatever they say, it doesn't matter to you, like in terms of it won't affect you. It's like you have that shield of love and light,
The Hubba
And
Bubba,
yeah.
the Hubba Bubba balloon I like to have is my big pink bubble that I blow up whenever I go into any sort of space, I think, that isn't my home, that I know.
Yeah.
I stick my thumb in my mouth and I pretend that I'm blowing up a big bubblegum bubble, and it just surrounds me and it keeps me and my energy clean. I think Danny Morell was speaking about energy cooties yesterday. In saying that we each need to energetically protect ourselves, because we don't know when someone else comes into your personal space what they're bringing, what shiz they've dealt with, because the minute they touch you, they're transferring it. They might not intentionally mean to, but they are transferring. So we need to be mindful that we're not taking on other people's crap.
Yeah. Because when we are in the process of healing ourselves, we are healing the world as well. And that's a way of, and it's everyone healing around us. Like Tina said, like we are, in a way, we are all connected. Sometimes to people that we might not like, might not appreciate in that moment, but
Yes.
we are all connected. And it's about reminding yourself with those daily practices, the tips that we have been giving throughout the episodes, like just try it out. Like maybe give yourself a challenge for the next 7 days, or for the next 14 days, for the next 21 days. I'm going to
you know
do
what? Just for the next 24 hours.
it.
If we really, really condense it, you know what? If you can step in front of the mirror 3 times today and say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. If you can do that 3 times today,
Yeah,
you know what? You're doing it 3 times better than you did yesterday.
that's true. And that's
and then build from that. It's all about habit stacking, right? So we want to keep it ridiculously simple, because for some people jumping on, if this is the first episode that they've shut their eyes and poked a button and said, yeah, I'll listen to that one, if they've stumbled into this and gone, what the actual am I listening to and what are they talking about? We are talking about spiritual awareness, and we are talking about raising your energetic vibration. And the way in which we do that is by forgiving ourselves first, and then having the capacity and the compassion to forgive others. But we need to do it in little steps, because sometimes taking a big bite out of the spiritual pie, it's hard to swallow. Like it's hard to take all of that amount of information on board, that there's more that you can see, and that there's infinite realities, and there's all of the stuff that still blows my hair back every single day when David sends me stuff in our feed. You guys would get a kick out of it as to what we flick back and forth to one another. But yeah, if you are listening in for the first time, we're endeavoring to give you tips and hints and mini habits that you can start to integrate into your life on a daily basis. And it doesn't have to be all of them. It can just be one that you can start with to start your journey, if that's where you're at, or if you're midway through and you've gone, oh yeah, I forgot about that one, I haven't practiced that. Oh yeah, maybe I need to say I'm sorry to myself. Maybe I could be a little kinder to myself. Maybe I could be a little bit kinder to my parent or my partner, or to my children, or to the people that I work with. Maybe I could practice the art of compassion. Maybe I could try on a new set of glasses or a new lens as to how I look at people, and go, oh, maybe they're having a bad day. but also be mindful that when we are giving people the benefit of our own doubt, it's not benefit of the doubt, it's benefit of our own doubt. So when we are doubting what our body is telling us, we are giving the benefit to somebody else.
Mm.
So be forgiving, but pardon my French, have boundaries like a motherfucker. Do not let anybody step over those to the detriment of your own soul and your own growth. It's very early for me to drop the F-bomb. I'm very sorry, humans that are listening in, but that is just me. That's what you get. It's raw and it's real, and it's
and we love you for that.
it's not clean.
It's not supposed to be clean, and that's what the divine mess is about. It's about the ugly, and
the good, the bad, and the indifferent, my friend.
yes. And sometimes Tina dropping the F-bomb. That's what we love about it.
Yeah.
And I always have a laugh about that. How she does that.
It's not French that I'm using, my friends. Although I am practicing.
She is. But it's a good reminder, I think, like for people listening, just a step process. For example, like you were asking, like go in front of the mirror firstly and say those. Second is like say those, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you to yourself. And then the third step is repeat the first two. That's it.
It is, isn't it? It's just that simple. It can start out with being something that simple.
Yeah. And if you're listening, you can't do that at the moment. Maybe if you can put your hand on your heart and just repeat those 4 phrases. And even if you can't do that, even that's too difficult. I don't know how simple it can get, but mentally. And if start with I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And like in the book, like Joe Vitale speak about that practice, and he say sometimes people find it difficult to get to I love you and thank you, and they got confused about the thank you. For example, the I love you is too hard for it to say. Start with I'm sorry, and start with one phrase. And like Tina said, like do it for the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
Just keep telling that to yourself.
Yep.
And then move on to the next two, the second phrase, please forgive me, and then so on. And keep going and keep trying. Don't stop. You know, like
we'd love to know what's the most difficult part. Like what's the hardest part for you to move through? You know, what presents the biggest challenge in saying all of those things? But I think sometimes for most people, it's looking themselves in the eye and being honest. You know, it's very quick to pass by a mirror. But if you're not truly looking at yourself and saying those things and being kind and forgiving yourself for your past mistakes, and that's all they are, is just you've gone in the wrong direction. You've met some people, you've made some choices, you've chosen an adventure and the adventure hasn't worked out like you planned it to, then there's nothing stopping you choosing a new path. But if you need help choosing a new path, both myself and my friend are available. We have 30-minute discovery calls on our website where you can book in and we can have a chat and see how we can be of assistance to you in that journey of eating the spiritual pie, so to speak, whether it's the crust off the edge or whether you're going to deep dive in and have a full plate load. We'd love to be part of that journey, and whether that is just via you listening to our podcast or tuning into our socials or getting involved and coming and working with either of us or both of us at the same time, the choice and the adventure is yours. So I'm guessing on that note, my friend, a quick one is a good one. And it's been so lovely to see you this Tuesday morning and to get the divine downloads for our divine mess that we call our lives. And for all of our listeners, if no one's told you, we love you. We think you're awesome. Your ass does look great in those jeans. And go out and have an amazing day.
Well, thank you, Tina, for finishing off on this beautiful note and a good summary, I feel. For all listeners, tune in because for next week, we are going for another F-bomb as well. F-word, sorry, not F-bomb. But for the F-word. And also thank you for tuning every week. And I'm really grateful on that special note to my parents, especially my dad, who sent me like on Dolores Cannon and who introduced me to those kind of healing and reminded me of the mentors, online mentors. And so I'm really grateful for that. So on that note, thank you everyone for listening.
Yes, we love you, Dad. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you and take care.
Okay, ciao, bye.